Hi there, I'm Driz, and I'm going to do a video about different blocks and custom blocks and how to make a custom block. So that way, when you're making blocks, you kind of have more options than just, a standard block that really does nothing, like cobblestone, for example. So here I have a block written out. It is just a block that I'm going to use in another video. So it's called test feature because I'm going to make a feature video where I'm going to make features in order to add them to biomes, but I'm going to make a biome video first, and that's going to come after all of this. So basically, I'm just leading into that by starting with making the feature block itself that I'm going to be putting into that. So what I did is I made the block just like I did my original block. So there's not much difference there, and you register your block just like you normally would. I mean, it's really a lot of repetitious things, making things just a little bit different when you're making them a little bit harder. And then when we get into the harder things, it's going to be just more abstraction and different kinds of things. So here we have a feature. And what I instead of making it a new block, I made it a new test feature. I actually made my own class over here. It extends bush block. We're just going to make a simple bush. And I added an ability, which I'm going to explain in a bit. But we're going to start over here. Basically, we're just registering this block. We got block properties. I chose to make it a plant. It's going to be a bush, essentially. We don't want it to drop anything. So when it breaks, it's not going to drop anything. It's just going to break and die. We don't want it to block movement. So all of these properties, you can really just see them. All you gotta do is just put down a period after your properties here or your material, and there's a lot of options: slipperiness, sound, uh, like how opaque your block is. So you have a few options: light value, hardness, resistance. You can make custom ones. The harvest level, so what level of tool you can use, and the specific tool. So if you want to make it like a shovel, for example, you can determine that here. Um, Options wise, that's pretty much it. There really isn't too much more than that. So once we make the block just like we normally would, I change the resistance to 0 because it's just a plant block. And here we have the name of the block. So when we turn the game on, just like we did the first time in the first video, it should make a block, essentially. So what I wanted to do is make the block a little bit different than we did last time, just because I wanted to show the versatility of making your own block. So basically, this extends bush block. Bush block, if you look at it, this is bush block. It does have its own options, and with Forge, it really explains a lot of things. But tells you what's a good position for it, whether or not it can go in a certain place. The render layer, which is what allows it to be cut out, essentially. Um, and here we have just a bunch of different options. Um, but the most important one is valid ground. You can actually override this and then either make it the same and add your own to it. Um, I think that if you just override it, it should allow you to put it on pretty much anything. So you can just change this block to any block you make or any block that exists in the world. If we want to make a cobblestone, and that will change where the block is placeable. But because it's a bush block, it can't just go anywhere. So it won't allow you to place it in certain places. So this is a pretty simple thing. There really isn't much more to it than that. When you make a block, you do need to add this because this allows you to add properties to the block like we did in the registry here. So all of this comes from this here, these properties. So without this, it really doesn't work. This is a constructor. Constructors are really important. They make your items. So one thing I wanted to do is I wanted to add something to make the item a bit more dynamic, just to show that there's really a lot of versatility when it comes to items. So what this does essentially is that when you on entity collision, when you run into the entity, or not the entity, but when an entity runs into the block, essentially, it's going to deal damage. It's going to be cactus damage because I chose a damage source that already exists. You can actually choose a lot of different damage sources. There's a sweet berry bush. Let's go with that one. And the bushes already deal damage, essentially. And I'm going to deal 1 damage. You can actually change this to as much as you want. So like 6 damage, for example. If that's what you want to do. But we're going to go with 1. We're sure it's half heart. Not 100% sure though, just because I haven't tested this out, but we'll find out. Sorry about that. So other than that, I mean, you really make things normally. You give it a name here. I call it test feature. You also need block states. I did do this a bit different. Let's see here. Oh, whoops, I changed the wrong one here. So here, we change it to cross. And if we look through our files, you can go cross.json, and this is what actually makes the cross. And this is what your grasses are made out of, and a lot of your ferns and things like that, so tall grass. And so basically when we load the game up, this is going to essentially make a block. I have just a basic custom texture that I made for another mod called Grass World. And basically what's going to happen is I'm going to be able to place this block, and when I run into it in survival mode, because it doesn't work in creative, you can't take damage in creative, I will take damage, essentially. It's important that if you're making a custom block that you have this. This is basically what determines which class your block is pulling from, and you can use this class over and over and over again. So if you make a one class for all of your bushes, for example, and one class for all of your I don't really know, can't really think of anything really. Any really type of block. I make grass blocks, so all of your grass, if you're making grass, or all of your trees, you can use all the same one slabs, for example. And Forge comes with some already in the game, so you can pick whichever ones you want. And by taking that, you're also considered a normal block as well. So everything just ties into block. If you're using bush block, then bush block is also a block, and everything just kind of ties into itself. So. Oh, that did not show my texture for some reason. Not 100% sure why. Super weird. Well, let's see if the damage works. So let's go with game mode, survival. I have some hearts now. Bam, see I'm taking some damage. Like I said, it's half a heart. So it does work. So let's see if I can't get the texture working real quick. It should have worked. I'm surprised it doesn't. Let me just make sure that all of these. Whoops, that's my texture. So it's got to be with this here somehow. So what you can do is you can look up grass.json. And if you look up the block for grass, oh, it's tinted cross. Well, that's probably why. right, let's give this a go. And if this works, then we have created a custom item, or a custom block, sorry. But essentially, you can really do almost anything. I have a block that does essentially what this does. It deals damage, and then whenever it figures or it sees the source of that damage kill an entity, it essentially spreads itself and grows another version of that block somewhere else. It's pretty good. So hopefully this solves my problem. I did test it, but I didn't have the cross. I had cube, so I assumed it would just work when I put cross. I totally forgot that it was a little bit different. But it's really the only difference between a normal block and this block. You can actually make a bunch of different blocks. You make the top different. If you look at the log, there's a bunch of different JSON files that you can look at that already have examples of what you can do. So if you think of a block that already exists in Minecraft, then you can essentially copy it. I'm not 100% sure why this is not working. You know what? I'm going to look at the log real quick, and we'll figure it out. Eventually, when I go through all of this, I will find what the problem is. Oh, maybe not. Weird. Maybe it's at the bottom here. Weird. So I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing an error here. Well. Oh, you know what? That's why. Yep. Gotcha. So let's stop this then. Stop. Let's run a new one. There. That should fix it. You don't need the Minecraft part, but it does work if it's there. I've said this in my previous videos, so I might as well show you. Hopefully you're skipping through this part, the loading part. I really like doing it this way. I know that it's weird not having cuts and things like that, but I like doing it this way because then it kind of shows people, how long it takes, how much effort it takes to do all of this, how many times you're loading up and all of that, and bug checking and working through it. And I feel that there's not a lot of that and people don't get to see much of what's going on. So, hey, I'm doing simple things, I make simple mistakes. But I definitely know what I'm doing, so we're gonna get through this and figure some things out. It'll be a good time. There we go. Got the model working. It deals damage. It's a grass block. You can float right through it. And that's it. Perfect. So next video, it will be a biome video. I'm going to show you guys how to make a normal biome. I'm going to show you guys how to change the grass color and the sky color. Maybe a couple other things we'll see. And yeah, perfect. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.